amazing podcast family. How are y'all doing? Listen, I am so excited because y'all know we started this new format for my podcast a few weeks ago, actually probably about a month and a half ago, and it was like a brand new journey for me because I actually got picked up by Ye, and they were able to start getting my podcast out on bigger platforms. And so this has all been new for me and kind of uncomfortable for some of you because we started doing commercials and all that kind of stuff. And but thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for growing with me. You know, I just started really walking in what God had called me to walk in at 41 years old. And so I was a late bloomer. And so I've been doing things that nobody else in my family's ever done. So I have had nobody showing me the ropes per se. And it's just been one of those like hit or miss. You just step out, you just do what you feels right, and then you work the kinks out as you go. And you know, I really want to encourage you today that you get out of your comfort zone. I want you to do something that scares the heck out of you. Like maybe you got hurt in a relationship and you have had your heart closed off because you don't want to get hurt again. And you've allowed yourself to put yourself in almost a prison of fear. And you're like, I just don't even want to do it again. I don't want to go feel that feeling again. I don't want to be broken again. I just don't want to scare myself again. So I'm going to put these walls up in my life to keep out the hurt and the pain. And in the process, you're actually keeping blessings out. So I want to challenge you, do that podcast. I want to challenge you, write that blog. Do something, even if the enemy is telling you, ain't nobody going to listen to it, ain't nobody caring about what you got to say. That is a lie. There are 8 billion people in this world, and every single thing you've walked through has been for somebody else, not even for you. And so give yourself a pat on the back today that thing that was supposed to take you out didn't take you out. It only elevated you. You got free life college now. So today we're going to be talking about, what do I even do with disappointment? Like, what do I even do with this? God, I got the wind knocked out of me. Now what do I do with it? What is disappointment? I'm going to talk about it today with you. We're going to get in it. We're going to chop it up. But before we get into it, I want to invite you right now to subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. Go drop some reviews for me, because y'all, you know me, or somebody shared this podcast with you, but other people don't. And your star ratings, 5, give me a 5, is what tells other people that I've got something good to say that will help them get unstuck. And so just if you would, the greatest gift you can give me is to share this podcast on your feeds, on all your socials. Share it with your friends, and also drop me a review. That's going to help people know that this is worth listening to. And subscribe. Subscribe on my YouTube channel, Real Talk Kim YouTube channel. Subscribe on all the podcasts. This is played on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, Google. Every single place podcasts are shared, this thing's shared. And so go subscribe to all of them. I can promise you, I study for these things. Like, I do research for these things. Like, I go through and get statistics for you. And you know, the coolest thing is that I actually have so many people tell me that their therapist sent them to me, because that is such a compliment, y'all. But the therapists are thinking, this Real Talk Kim has walked through some hell, and she is able to say things to people that we are not able to say because of our license will be invoked. And God has just gifted me with the ability to know that you're loved by me, and that when I tell you something, it's because I love you. And so I can sit in your lap. I can say things that other people can't say that will help you get unstuck. And so today, share, like, just thank you for loving me. Thank you for supporting me. Get your RTK podcast notebooks out right now, because I'm going to send it to a break, and then we're going to chop it up. I love you, and I'll see you in a minute. beautiful people. Welcome back, amazing you. Today, we're talking about disappointment. I am like a soldier. Like, I am like one of those people that can bounce back pretty quick. My parents never really gave me like that victim pat on the back, that, oh, just cry as long as you need. Like, my parents were never those parents that whenever I had a bully at school, they would go fight the bully for me. Or when I got sent to the principal's office, because back in my day, y'all, we got spanked at school. We would get like, bend over, you're about to get a paddling on the butt. My parents never came to the school and like fought the principal. They were like, girlfriend, listen, if you did it, you're going to pay for it. So that's kind of how my parents have always kind of taught me, right? That the disappointment, you're going to go through disappointment, Kim. You're going to love people that don't love you back. I'll never forget, y'all, one time, I remember it was 6th grade. And maybe it was like more like 7th grade or 8th grade. Well, anyway, there was a girl that just didn't like me. I don't know why she didn't like me. I just rubbed her the wrong way. And I would do everything in my power to get this girl to like me, and she would never like me. And one day I remember she came to me and she was like, after school, me and you in the gym, I'm about to beat your butt. And I remember thinking, you're right. You're going to beat my butt. I cannot fight. I've never fought in my life. I was so scared. But I knew, now my mom and dad protected me, but my mom and dad always taught me to love your way out of a situation, right? Just love the bully so much that the bully has to end up liking you, right? Because it's so stupid. Hurt people, hurt people. So this is what they would tell me. Hurt people, hurt people. And so love covers a multitude. And when someone invites you to fight, you talk yourself out of it, right? And so I remember after school, I was scared because I knew this chick, and you know how kids are, when there's a fight, they're all standing around and boop, boop, right? And I remember, I was like, I gotta face this. Like, I gotta face this girl. I gotta face it. So I walked into the gym because I knew that if I didn't show up, she was gonna harass me every day until I dealt with it. And so I remember I walked in that gym and she was like, girl, come on, I'm about to beat you up. And I remember standing in front of all of those kids that were ready, because back then we didn't have cell phones, so thank God it didn't go online. But they were all like, whoo, whoo, whoo. And I remember I walked right up and I just stood there and looked at her, and she was like, come on, come on. And I looked at her, I was like, I'm not fighting you. Right in front of the whole everybody in that gym. I was like, I'm not fighting you. You're going to kill me. I know you're going to kill me. But let's talk it out. Let's figure out why you don't like me. And I asked her, I was like, what did I do to you? Why do you not? Y'all, it was like the greatest lesson that I ever taught myself. Because that girl couldn't tell me why she didn't like me. And me and that girl ended up being great friends. But it was because I showed up in the disappointment. I showed up in the middle of someone wanting to fight me and didn't even know why they wanted to fight me. So what I do, I nipped it in the butt. Now, there's a lot of people that have been like, thank God my parents never fought my disappointment for me, because through my life, I've realized that there's been a lot of things in my life that disappointed me. And a lot of things broke my heart. And I realized that disappointment, heartbreak, it doesn't go away until you face it. It just doesn't. I remember laying in my bed in 2006 when I walked through my divorce. After 18 years, man, I did everything I could for this marriage to work. 18 years, 2 sons. And I remember laying on my bed one night so heartbroken. And I was like, God, I had to move back in with my mom and daddy. Talk about disappointment at 36. And I had a great job. I was an interior designer. I made a ton of money. I bought a $500,000 house. But this marriage took a toll because I kept fighting a marriage by myself. And I found myself having to literally move back in with my mom and dad, and I lost everything. And I remember laying in my bed one night, and I was like staring at this disappointment. And I was like, God, take this pain away from me. And I remember so clearly, y'all, I in the pit of my belly, I felt God telling me, I can't take this pain away from you. Basically, I can't take this disappointment away from you. you got to get up and walk away. And at that moment, I realized I got to get up and walk away. The depression isn't just going to leave. The heartbreak's not going to leave. I got to get up and walk away. The bad memories are not going to leave. I got to make better memories to smash all those bad memories down. So see, disappointment's going to come to all of us, but we're the ones that choose if we're going to sit in it. So let me explain what disappointment is. What is disappointment? In the dictionary, disappointment defines disappointment as feeling defeated in expectation or hope. It's sitting in this place of disappointment, feeling defeated, feeling hopeless. And as an emotion, disappointment is characterized by a feeling of regret or sadness, often related to a loss. The loss may be of a loved one or change in circumstances, such as a loss of a job, a loss of your home, a failing grade on a test, or a bad medical diagnosis. For example, all of these things are going to come in life. It's a fact. You're either going through a storm, coming out of a storm, or you're going to go through a storm. The Bible says it, that the rain falls on the just and the unjust, meaning bad things are going to happen. On September the 11th, when those 2 planes hit the World Trade Centers, it wasn't because those people were bad. It was because some bad people took something into their own hands and took out thousands of people. That's why. Those people were just in a bad place. They were in the wrong place at the wrong time. So bad things happen. But the way we deal with the bad things that happen decides our future, right? Either we're going to let a season in our life define our lifetime, or we're going to use it as free life college. And I ain't got to pay one student loan back, right? It's like instead of jumping from a relationship that ended, it ended. You loved them or you wouldn't have been in the relationship. So when that relationship ended, you were broken. I don't care if you say you weren't. You were. I don't care if you're a man and you're tough or you're a woman that says, I don't need nobody now. It broke you because you were invested or you wouldn't have been in that relationship. But so often what we do, instead of dealing with the disappointment head on, we jump from one relationship to another, right? And we end up with the same people, but with different faces, right? Or we stay single forever because we don't want to face the disappointment again, right? So people experience disappointment for many reasons. Just as people are unique, our responses to disappointment are exclusive to us individually. So here, listen. Learning to identify the source of the disappointment is crucial. Your reaction to disappointment and the way you choose to overcome it is often influenced by the source of the disappointment. Let me explain. Here's a great example. If you applied for a promotion at work but did not receive it, you may feel disappointed and you may wonder how things in your life may have been better had you been promoted, right? So that causes us to live in the shoulda, couldas, and wouldas. But you have to decide. You decide. Decide if you want to stay at your current job with the employer who did not choose you, or if you want to pursue employment elsewhere. There are likely additionally options that you may not have considered, such as having a conversation with your supervisor about what options for growth may exist for you and what you might need to do to prepare for those opportunities when they arise. But so often, disappointment causes us to go mute, causes us to run, causes us to put ourselves in this prison that we don't have to be in, right? We've got the keys to get out because really nobody can unqualify us except us. Because God often uses people that are unqualified and he qualifies them. Nobody can steal your birthday, right? So you have to stop and ask yourself. I had a lady that when I was at my dentist office, and every time she was doing my cleaning, she was talking about how much she hated her job. And she would cry while she's cleaning my teeth. I've got this, for starters, I've got this sign above my head that literally tells people, tell her everything. I don't even go get massages because I'll be laying on this massage table and that lady that is supposed to make me feel relaxed will tell me everything about her life. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just draw it out of people. They feel comfortable. I don't know. But this lady, every day, every time I would go in there for years, she was always there. And she would always cry and tell me how much she hated her job and how she felt so unappreciated. And I remember one day, because she made me feel crummy about going into the dentist office, right? Because I don't care what y'all say. When people tell you ugly things about a certain person, you judge them. We are human. So I actually started judging this facility, this dentist office. And then one day when I was driving home, I felt the Holy Spirit drop in my spirit and say, it's her fault. She doesn't have to stay there. She doesn't have to stay in this place of employment, but because she is afraid, because when you stay in a disappointment so long, you start believing the things that have made you feel disappointed. Whether it's staying at a job where they yell at you or staying with a spouse that calls you names and beats on you, you begin to become the things they say about you. Then you stay in that place way longer than you should have, and you turn up to be 50 years old and think, oh my God, how did I get here? It's because you got comfortable in the dysfunction, right? And I remember when I went back to the dentist and she started, I said, don't tell me nothing else. Because until you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of this disappointment, you aren't going to change. And I'm sick of hearing it. You are grown and you can get up and go find a better job. And you know what? I went back. She wasn't there. She wasn't there. And I asked them, I was like, where did so-and-so go? And they were like, she actually got a better job at a different dentist office. And now she's running the whole dentist office. And I was like, I have to believe, because I gave her a big spanking that day. Like, as long as you're staying here, believing what you feel about yourself here, you have this aura about you, right? This is why we stay in dysfunctional relationships, because we actually believe what the narcissist is saying. Because the enemy cannot take us out, so he wears us out by us believing the lies that the enemy has sent someone else to tell us, and now the disappointment has us scared to move because we believe those lies, because God is not a God of chaos and confusion. And a lot of times, God will take his hand off a situation, and that's when you start getting to a place where you can't sleep, you're depressed. He's taking his hand off that relationship. He's taking his hand off that job, right? And it's up to us to face this mountain and worship our way through and get courage to move. So, you've got to believe that the disappointment associated with the loss of a loved one often leaves individuals feeling overwhelmed, because there is no way to undo the circumstance. Dog, that is big, man. There's no way to undo the circumstance. There's no way to make that person love you. They left you for somebody else. There's no way for you to get your child back that died of cancer. They're gone. When my daddy died, that was the hardest thing for me, was realizing he ain't coming back. He's not coming back. My father is not coming back. And I remember I would walk around my house and cry, like devastated. And you know what? One day I was like, take his pictures off the walls. He's not coming back. Every time you see his pictures, Kim, you are falling apart. So you got a legacy to carry out of his. So you got to face this fact. He's in heaven. He would not want to come back if he wanted to. And now it's time for you to live, Kim. And you know what I did? I mourned and moved. I took his pictures out of my house. Well, Kim, I don't think that's real good. I think you're supposed to sit in the grief for a while. No, you're not. And now everybody grieves differently. I get it. And nobody can tell you how long you need to grieve. But I'm telling you something. When you sit in a disappointment for longer than 6 months, what are you even doing? I think 6 months is a long time, especially when you can't undo it. When you realize that your ex has moved on, started a family with another family, you're still believing God for your ex. They're not coming back. Well, God told me they were. They're not coming back. And when you embrace the fact they're not coming back, and it's time for me to live, because rejection was God's protection, right? So am I saying, maybe you're feeling like this is hard. This is hard. What I'm saying, it's truth. When you get to a place where you realize that anything that walked out of your life was not a part of your destiny, and so you got to choose to live again. When I walked through my divorce, y'all, I was devastated. But when I finally realized, I stopped looking at the few days that were good in that relationship, and reality was saying it wasn't good a lot. I stopped allowing myself to sit in the truth of the matter is that I loved them probably more than they loved me. Number one. Number two, I never asked God if that was my spouse. I never got permission from God. That was number two. Number three was, it's over. They've moved on. And in order for me to get who God really wants for me, I got to close the door and move on. And maybe that's you today. Maybe it's your ego that you just want to know what you did wrong. How, if I could do it, if I could fix it. You're not. Some things you can't fix. And down deep, you already know it. And so what are you doing allowing your ego, right? So how do we manage disappointment effectively? How do we manage disappointment effectively? Many people have the mindset that if you don't talk about something, then it didn't happen. This is not true. This type of denial has negative consequences, which may compound the disappointment. Long-term effects of unresolved disappointments may impact personal and or romantic relationships. This often happens because someone who has been disappointed finds it difficult to trust others for fear of facing rejection or more disappointment. You gotta face it. You gotta face it. You gotta sit in the disappointment. I give myself 24 hours, man. I'm like, girl, go get you some Haagen-Dazs. Go watch some Netflix. Shut your phone off and just sit in your disappointment. Go on and relive whatever you need to relive, Kim. Go on. Have yourself a meltdown. But then after 24 hours, you need to come out like a soldier, because your destiny is not tied to your disappointment. Feeling disappointment is not necessarily an issue to be concerned about. The inability to cope with the emotion and to let go of associated pain can become an issue. Overcoming disappointment takes a conscious effort. You have to be intentional. There are some steps that I'm about to give you that you're going to want to write down to help manage your emotions so that you can't let go, so that you can let go, so that you can let go and move on. All right? Number one, develop emotional awareness. Develop emotional awareness. One of the best ways to become emotionally aware is to acknowledge your feelings about the situation or situations that disappointed you. Being honest with yourself first will allow you to talk and be honest with others. If you have a friend or a confidant with whom you can discuss these feelings, they may be able to offer some perspective about the issue. Y'all, I have a handful of friends that I literally can call, and because I have to talk things out. Like, I need to talk it out. And when a relationship ends in my life, I'm not going to go to that person and talk it out. I got some confidence that I will talk it out and they will give me a different perspective that will allow me to see things differently. Additionally, seeking the advice of a therapist, a counselor for unresolved emotional responses is so beneficial. You're not broken just because you go to a therapist. An experienced counselor will be able to offer you support and insight into why some feelings are easier to cope with than others. They teach you how healthy coping mechanisms to help you learn to let go of disappointment and move forward. Yeah, man, a therapist that's not biased. A therapist that isn't inside the situation. All right? That was number one. Number two is embrace peace. Embrace peace. Disappointment has a way of leaving the person affected feeling anxious, as if in a constant state of turmoil. I've been there where my insides are feeling like they are in a storm. My mouth gets dry. I feel anxious because I'm trying to control a situation that's out of my control. I'm not facing disappointment head on. Some days may be easier than others, right? Disappointments have a way of leaving the person affected feeling anxious, feeling in turmoil. This is not conducive to emotional well-being. Some days are easier than others, but it is very important to learn to identify things that make you feel happy and at peace and embrace those. Letting go of disappointment and letting go of anger, letting go of bitterness associated with it. It frees your mind of turmoil, and it helps you live a life of peace. Here's number three, seek reality. Yeah, seek reality, not illusion. Seek reality, not illusion. It is human nature to hope and dream. They're going to call me. They're going to call me. You're looking at your phone every few minutes. Is that them? And then when it isn't them, you're disappointed. One day you're going to be up. One day you're going to be down. It's just life. You're human. You hurt. We all do it. You loved them more than they loved you, right? Maybe, just maybe the disappointment you're feeling, you thought that person was the one. Maybe you started dating them after a divorce. Maybe you waited a few years. And then all of a sudden this person came in your life and you fell hard for them and you loved them more than you even loved your ex. They awakened something in you. Everything was going great. But then all of a sudden it crashed because maybe you had some things on the inside of you that hadn't healed before, haven't healed and you didn't know it until you got in another relationship, or maybe they weren't ready for commitment. And now you found yourself, oh my God, I'm hurting again. And if you're not careful, you will allow the disappointment of this relationship to stop you from allowing another person to love you appropriately. Maybe, just maybe, this relationship that broke your heart that after the divorce or listen. Maybe this relationship was to awaken you and show you that you did want to love again because you were all the way turned off. You never wanted to ever be in a relationship again. You had a vibe, an energy that revoked. It was like propellant, and you just don't talk to me. And now this relationship that you're hurting because it didn't work, maybe, just maybe, it was brought into your life to show you that you wanted to love again. So maybe God used it to open your heart, right? It is human nature to hope and dream. It's healthy to do so. However, when reality becomes mixed with illusion, it is very easy to feel disappointed. And when you are trying to decipher what is real, journaling or making lists are so helpful. Y'all, Beautifully Broken, my very first book I ever wrote that you can get right now on in my store, rtkstyle.com. I got 4 incredible books right there. But Beautifully Broken was me journaling through my healing process. I wasn't healing, right? Because I was dreaming of the day that we would get back together. It was never going to happen. We were never going to get back together again. Too much water under that toxic bridge. So I started journaling, and a whole book came out of it. I never dreamed when I was journaling that it was for a book, but God did. Write down facts and how they impact your life. Journaling and writing your feelings are great ways to express your feelings while maintaining discreetness. Yeah, because y'all, you don't want to tell everything. You bleeding on people that didn't cut you. You're wearing people out. When in reality, this is a you and God healing job. All right? Now listen, here's another one. Write this down. Allow experience to be your teacher. Allow experience. The reason I am who I am today is because of mess ups, mistakes. They were my lessons. Heartbreak at its finest was my lessons. Allow experience to be your teacher. Disappointment is inevitable. It's going to happen. While it may not feel good at the time, experiencing disappointment and learning to overcome it can help prepare you for difficult situations later in life. Whether disappointment occurred because of a mistake you made, a missed goal, a poor personal choice or choices, there's an opportunity to learn and move forward. And y'all, I'm going to tell you something. My first divorce, listen, I preached a sermon at Limitless Church because I pastor Limitless Church here in Atlanta, Georgia. We got 2 campuses, and if you're ever in Atlanta, you need to come. 1653 Highway 85 South, Fayetteville, Georgia, 30215. Every Sunday I'm preaching at 10, 11:30. February the 19th, we will have our Limitless Atlanta campus service at 6 p.m. Get in the building. All the details are at limitlesschurch.live. Let me just tell you something. When I walked through my divorce in 2006, I laid in my bed in disappointment for a year. And I wanted to be loved. I preached a sermon at Limitless 2 Sundays ago about Samson and how Samson was so powerful, but he had weakness, and his weakness was relationships. And I preached the crap out of that sermon because I feel like Samson sometimes. I'm so powerful in areas, but in relationships, I ain't done a good job because I always jump ahead of God, right? Because we all want to be loved, accepted, and valued. And when we get somebody in our life that we are like, oh my God, this is it. All of a sudden we throw all caution out the window. That's me. That's been me. And when that first divorce took place after 18 years of marriage, I mean, y'all, I was at Bible school when I met him. And Pastor Rod Parsley, which is my spiritual daddy today, warned me not to get in that relationship. Now, do I regret getting in that relationship? Heck no, because I got 2 incredible sons out of it. So I would have gone back and done it all over again just to get my 2 sons and to get the Kim I am today because of the experience of that 18-year marriage that was full of toxicity. But I moved back in with my mom and dad for 5 years, and I thought I was healed. I was still working at Bloomingdale's, making $9 an hour, and this man slipped in my DMs on Facebook. I'm still living at my mama's house. I wasn't preaching. I wasn't even really saved. And this man slips in my DM on Facebook, and he's 15 years older than me. And I'm like, oh my God, he said the right things to me. Oh, he was going to take me out of my mama's house. He was going to get me a house. He was older, man, which meant he was settled. What'd I do? I met that man twice in person, and I married him. Yes! Dum, da, dum, dum, dum. Why? Because the enemy knew that my future was going to be what I'm doing today, preaching all over the world, leading millions of people, having an RTK inner circle where I coach thousands of people. Yeah, he knew. He knew that I was going to pastor a church. He knew that I was going to be on a show called Preachers of Atlanta that was going to catapult me. I didn't, because at that moment, I'm working at Bloomingdale's, making $9 an hour. And I wanted out of my mama's house. So I jumped at the chance of a man being a financial retirement plan for me. And guys, 8 years in, and I get served divorce papers. What? Now, when I get served divorce papers, I'm already pastoring a church. I'm already pastoring millions of people. I'm devastated. He gets literally exposed to his sin on social media. I learn with the rest of the world. I'm mortified. I'm disappointed. I give the greatest relationship advice on the planet. I do. I know what makes relationships work because I've failed at them and I thought I was being successful at them. But what I have to remember is I fell in love with someone's charisma, but I had to live with their character. And so what did I do? I chose, because it happened right before the pandemic, right? Happened right before the pandemic. And all courthouses were closed. I get served divorce papers. And I had to walk through his demands, seeing sides of him that I never dreamed I would see. Mortified. 41 events had been canceled because of the pandemic. And I had to face me again. Disappointment. And I had a choice. I was going to allow that to make me quit, because here I am again. Who am I to tell anybody anything? Who am I to preach? And I remember 24 hours I gave myself. And I laid in my bed that night and I heard the Lord say, you're going to bounce back from this. Don't make a statement. Live so nobody believes it. And your fruit will outlive the lies. Elevation requires separation. That was almost 4 years ago when I walked through that. And I'm going to tell you something. That disappointment was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because I found a voice inside of me. I found God. I didn't lay in my pain. I didn't make a statement. I didn't try to right the wrong. I just let it go, and I trusted God. That's what I'm telling you today. You may be facing the biggest disappointment. Your ego may have taken a hit. People may be talking about you. People may be lying about you. You may have found out on social media with the rest of the world. You might have lost your house in the middle. You might have lost a lot of money because of your wrong choice. I don't care what it is, but today I'm telling you that you take this disappointment and you flip the script and you let God change your disappointment into a trajectory shift. And you take it as Free Life College and you let yourself be oily with anointing and give yourself credit because you made it. Just because you experience disappointment doesn't mean that you have to beat yourself up. If you take the time to honestly weigh the positive and the negative experiences you have had, chances are you have made more to be proud of than disappointed about. Think about your character strengths. Are you a good friend? Are you a hard worker? Do you like to do kind things for others? When you begin to view yourself in terms of success rather than failures of disappointment, you may be surprised how much you begin to feel better. I pray that you are being shook right now. I had an option that I could allow myself to die in the middle of disappointment, but I got up. I got better. I didn't blame nobody for the failure. I didn't blame nobody for the disappointment. Instead of pointing fingers, I realized 3 more were pointing back at me. And in the process, I got double for my trouble. I signed a 6-figure book deal, not to tell on him or them, but to talk about how I got out of it. And that's what I'm doing today for you. So here's what I'm about to do. I'm about to let you breathe, because I know I just hit you between the eyes, because some of y'all been thinking you were entitled to feel this. No, you're not. You let this work for you. Let the disappointment work for you. I'm going to let you breathe, and I'm going to send this to a break, and I'm going to be right back to give you the final tip that helped me win and make millions because of my disappointment. I love you. I'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Man, I'm going to tell you something. As y'all could tell, I moved my podcast to my house. And I feel the presence of God in here. This is my sanctuary. This is a place where I worship. This is a place where I spend time with God, and the anointing is on this podcast today. Not that it hadn't been on all the other ones, but when I tell you there's a transparency that comes to healing. And a lot of times we won't allow our disappointments to be used because we are ashamed of our disappointment. We're ashamed of our failure. We're ashamed that they didn't love us. We're ashamed that they served us divorce papers. We're ashamed that we stayed with someone that abused us and beat on us. We're ashamed that we mismanaged our money and spent all of our money at 3 o'clock in the morning watching QVC and shopping our emotions. We're ashamed that we slept with somebody several times and had babies with them and they never straightened up. We're ashamed that we lied at our job and got fired. We're ashamed that we got that DUI and sat in prison. We don't want nobody to know these things because people have a propensity to judge us by our past. But I'm telling you something. Somebody is waiting on your story. Somebody is waiting on you to talk about your disappointment. I'm going to tell you something else. When you heal, you tell the story differently. Everybody wants to be a diamond, but nobody wants to get cut. And it's in the cutting process where the healing takes place and thousands of people crawl out of their pit because you told your story. Because you didn't care what the loudmouth chunky butt down the street gonna say about you. You're not gonna let the murmurs of people stop you from telling your story and telling about how you overcame. And I'm going to tell you something else. If people if people keep bringing up your past, put them in your past. No is a complete sentence. Some of y'all need to stop talking on the phone to people. Some of y'all still trying to keep a connection with your ex that don't want you. The ex don't want you. If the ex wanted you, they would have fought for you. They don't want you. That's a hard reality, isn't it? Oh, God, Kim, that hurts. It's the truth. Anybody that wants to be in your life will fight to be in your life. They will change their behavior to be in your life. Why do you want somebody that don't want you? Face the disappointment. Because I'm going to tell you something. There is somebody that is praying for you to come into their life. And you're not coming because you won't deal with the disappointment in reality. Your story, what you've gone through, it's not even for you. It's for somebody else. Y'all, when I think about just 10 years ago, right 2 miles down the road at Lenox Square Mall, working at Bloomingdale's for $9 an hour. When I left 5 years later, I was making $13 an hour. I would get a 20-cent raise every year. That was it. I could have left, but God wouldn't let me because it was my best college education and it was free because I fell in love with people in my disappointment. When I was putting makeup on them, I would hear, oh my God, I'm not the only one that has failed at relationships. I'm not the only one that had to move back in with my mom and daddy. It could have been worse. It could have been so much worse. And I found myself in those seasons. So today, deal with your disappointment. Get your butt off the clearance rack that you put your tail on when that narcissist lied to you and told you nobody would ever love you. Maybe they told you ain't nobody gonna ever love you like I do. You should say, praise God, because I'm not going for somebody like you ever again. Some of y'all need to put a do not disturb up on your heart. And you need to let God heal you everywhere you hurt so you stop falling in love and putting up with friends that have the same spirit with different faces. You are going to be the first millionaire or billionaire in your family. Yeah, you might be on food stamps. So was I. But now look what God's done in my life in 10 years because I dealt with the disappointment. And still to this day, I deal with the disappointment head on. Listen to me. The last point is we all need someone. We all need someone, no matter what disappointment you are experiencing. It's important to realize that we all have times when we need help from others. Stop walking around, I don't need nobody. You need somebody. We all need somebody. Reach out to family, a healthy family member. Reach out to friends. That will encourage you. Get in my RTK inner circle. Yo, I built this community. It's online. It's $20 a month. That's 60 cents a day. And the reason I charge you $20 is because if it's free, you won't take it seriously. I built this tribe of people. There are people that have never met each other in that group, and they're best friends. They talk on the phone every day. They go on vacation. They're planning vacations together. We got other people that go on vacation together every year. We've become family. I built this community because when I walked through my divorce, I had nobody. And you need somebody. Go to realtalkkim.com, realtalkkim.com, and sign up today. I send you devotions Monday through Friday to keep you encouraged. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I do an hour-long Zoom, and right now we're studying boundaries, and it's powerful. I pour into you weekly. Do something for you. We're even going on a cruise in June together to the Bahamas on Royal Caribbean. All of this because I love you enough to tell you, you don't do life alone. Yo, I pray this podcast helped you. I pray that you share this. Listen to it over and over again, right? You can watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts. You can listen to it on Spotify. You can listen to it on iHeartRadio. You can listen to it everywhere. This podcast, you can put me in your pocket and listen to me on your break. Listen to it so that you can get free. Because you know what? Everybody deals with disappointment. Disappointment is elevating you because the lessons you learn in disappointment are beautiful. Y'all, I love you so much. Y'all, thank y'all for sharing this with somebody you love. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you to all my partners that sow into into Real Talk Kim Ministries every month. Thank you to all of you that I'm your online pastor for Limitless. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing to my channels. Thank you for support. I love you so much. And one thing I can promise you is I will always point you to heaven, and you will not stay stuck hanging with me because I won't let you. I love you. I will see you next week. RealTalkKim.com. I love you. I love you. I love you. And I'm praying for you right now. I will talk to you next week.